Hi, welcome to I've Always Wanted to Make a YouTube Video. I got an idea watching Bon Appetit, um, and I'm gonna try and make my own riff on Mac and Cheese Carbonara. Let's give this a shot, I guess. Hello, and welcome to my little slice of crazy. You can call me Cece, and I'm going to be attempting recipes based off what I've seen in videos. Step 1 is going to be boiling the water. I managed to do this as step 5, and it messed up the order of everything I had to do. So, get that water boiling. In a pan, you're going to want to get your meat going. I used pancetta and prosciutto as a mix because I felt like it would be a good twist on a classic carbonara meat and something that tastes a little bit more like bacon. So, yeah, this is them just sizzling away. Do you guys ever like connect smells to your childhood? Because the pancetta in the pan definitely reminded me of when I was a kid. And for breakfast, we would make like these egg and pancetta sandwiches. Yeah, so here's it's all done. See how they're all like kind of a little bit translucent where the fat is, but there's a lot of dark color to the meat. And this is how much oil you should have about, because and put that aside because we're gonna try that again. We're gonna put that aside because we're gonna use that later for making the roux. Haha, I can use words. Now you want to make sure to take a bite of those meats because boy, do they taste good. Um, Here's a close up of meat. I don't know why I added that, but apparently I did. Good for me coming back to do the voiceover a week after editing the video. Up next, we want to prepare our veggies. Yay! Cutting vegetables and a bunch of dead airspace. So, normally you don't add a bunch of extra vegetables to carbonara. It's kind of just really simple, a little bit of meat, a little bit of egg, and sometimes some onion. And I thought I had like half an onion that was about to go bad. Turns out I left it on on the counter and it had gone bad. So you see me grab an onion in the reflection and toss a different one into the garbage. There we are. I am the most hygienic person and always peel my vegetables over a garbage can just because I like the danger of the chance of it falling into the garbage, which I was lucky enough not to do with my last onion. Up next, we have some terrible cutting technique. It's not the worst I've ever seen. If you guys really want that, I can teach you guys how my grandma used to cut onions, and I would never suggest doing it, especially with a knife as sharp as the one I have. So, yeah, that's a thing. Let's just watch me cut onions. While I cut onions, I might as well tell you guys about my favorite little trick to keeping onions like from going bad. So when you have like a big half onion that you're gonna or a quarter onion you're gonna be throwing in the fridge, if you wrap it in paper towel and then put it in a plastic bag, it actually just keeps a lot better than otherwise. It adds a good like 2-3 days of shelf life to it, which is always nice. You can also do it with peppers, which we will see the consequence of not taking the seeds out of your peppers while or before storing them in a bit. It very much disappointed me. Now we got some really nicely diced up onions, and we're gonna be caramelizing them. So one of the next steps I get up to here is actually um, getting a cup of water and ice, or I guess a bowl, and having them sit in there until they're ready to be put into a frying pan. There I am using that paper towel trick on the onion because it's always a good save, and prepping my bowl. Glad I got a bit ahead of the curve on that narration. And I wasted so much time that I could have cut out, but I didn't because I don't know why. So yeah, some of the extra veggies I was planning to throw in were peppers, and we will see what happened to the peppers I had bought 2 days before filming this video. Alright, so here's the peppers, brand new in the bag. They still look fine, right? Well, the thing about peppers is they rot from the inside out. So the first thing that goes bad on them is actually the stem before any of the pepper itself goes bad. But that's fermentation happening from those seeds inside. That's me thinking I could maybe salvage one. And it's actually pretty fuzzy on the top. Almost all of them were. So I just decided no, not happening. I'm not using those in my food. I don't need to risk that. And now we're getting that oil. We're just sitting around with it because we got nothing else to do because we put the water on like 2 minutes before doing this. For some reason, I decided you needed 2 shots of how much oil we have, and in the second one, I end up dropping some almost out of it. So that was a bad idea, but you know, I'm full of bad ideas, and nobody should be listening to my advice. I just look so lost. Congratulations! We have boiled the water finally, so we can throw those noodles in. I like the medium shells for mac and cheese because they're just like so big and just like a good mouthful. And I keep pumping my fist because every small win deserves a celebration, don't it? So we got the noodles in the water, and they're gonna cook for how long do we cook them for? I think it's 9 minutes. 8 minutes. Now we're crushing up some breadcrumbs because every good mac and cheese has breadcrumbs. I think everybody knows that, and if you don't know that, then you've made some terrible mistakes in your life. I always like to keep this knife like clean as soon as I use it because I was given it as a Christmas gift from like a really good friend of mine, and every good cook has a good knife. So now we're making the roux, and that pot has been emptied, and we're throwing all the oil into the empty pot, and it's cooking on medium low, and we're gonna add equal parts flour. So we should have gotten 2 tablespoons of oil. So we're gonna want to add about 2 tablespoons of flour. I think I had 2.5. Oh, and then in that pan that we were using with the remnants of any oil left and a bunch of olive oil, we're gonna get the onions grilling. Hooray! Trying to do everything at once. This was definitely not a mistake when I was doing it. I might start playing music again during this very confusing point in time, wherein all I'm trying to do is make the roux equal parts flour and butter or fat, and I do like 8 different things at once for some reason. Coming up now, we have a very ADD montage of me trying to get the milk and get it to the roux before it burns, because we want a white roux, not a dark roux. And we're going to add milk a little bit at a time because we want to let it thicken back up and then add more milk. And now I'm going to prep the onions to go into that pan, and you now have a stationary view of what's going on. Hooray! I'm emptying the water and ice out of the onions, and it made a satisfying ting sound that I cannot replicate. So we gotta live with some disappointments, I guess. Now that that roux has thickened back up, we're gonna add a little bit more milk because that's not enough for a sauce. Excuse my terrible cinematography while I multitask. And ignore the beer can. Hopefully, at this point, I am less erratic in this video and able to actually say something about what's going on. Let's see what's up next. And now we're prepping the cheese for this. That's some smoked cheddar that I had frozen and didn't realize it would just crumble if I tried to grate it. So my microplane never quite forgave me for this. The music never ends. Cutting up some Gouda, and off screen I also prepared some Havarti and Parmesan cheese to go in the sauce, which boy does it taste good at the end of it. Then again, I say that about everything I make. I went back there to season the onions because they were just about at that point, so I put in some garlic, cayenne, paprika. Oh wow, I'm starting to forget. Garlic plus salt, pepper. Yeesh, I can't remember now. It's been like a week since I made it. Then we have all the seasonings, and we're gonna mix it in with the onions there, and it's gonna be smelling real good. So the next point is that's the roux, just the milk, the flour, and the fat, and I threw those onions in, some of the meat in, and our next step is going to be tempering eggs, which if you've never done that before, time to listen up. So tempering your eggs is vitally important if you don't want curdled eggs or like cooked eggs. You want it to stay creamy. So you put about a teaspoon of it at a time of the hot liquid in with your egg, mix it together really well, and you keep doing that. I had done about 5 or 6 at that point, and they were about the same temperature. And here's a shot of my foot and floor, just because, who doesn't want to look at my feet? What was that sound effect? Was it any good? I hope so. At this point, I'd appreciate if you could ignore how messy my counter has become from making this, as I pan across to get the noodles and pour those in for stirring, because our sauce is done, and you know what that means. It's almost ready. And now it's time to get your stir on. Oh, yeah. Was that music sexy enough for stirring? So now we're preparing our pan, and we're gonna throw some olive oil in there and grease it all up. I was gonna use a different word. And we're gonna fake you out by pressing bake, but turns out we're gonna be broiling, and I messed up and it should have been on low, but let's pretend I didn't. The next step is to grease your pan more than Mr. Universe. Ignore my inability to use words properly, please. So now that that's all lubed up, lubed, ah, we want about half of our breadcrumbs. See, 1/2. That's what my brain said. But I actually used more like 2/3 inside of it, and you save about 1/3 in the bag for on top. And you're gonna mix that in with the sauce. And oh, I did get more mixing porn. Perfect. At this point, I suggest you get an adult to help, because if you try to do this like I did on your own, you will hurt your wrist like I did trying to do this on my own. The pot was very heavy, and I tried to support it at this point here with one wrist, and my whole wrist buckled under the weight. So I had to just like see what I could get flipping it upside down. But boy, oh, doesn't that just look like the best? Oh, I want it. Oh, how did I eat it all already? God damn it. Oh yeah, so you're gonna want to flatten out the top. That's what I was doing there. Sorry, got distracted by how good it looked. So the rest of your breadcrumbs, you want to just sprinkle those on top, and then any leftover cheese you have, maybe some of that cheddar. I used smoked, so I was gonna say smoked cheddar, but you just need cheddar, and some of the Parmesan, and whatever else you can find, and um other things. Oh, I think these are just more cheeses. I just put a lot of cheese on top. Just put all the cheese. Oh, and crumble in some of that meat. Don't forget the meat. That's important. And then on top of the meat, that's where the Parmesan goes. And I need you guys to ignore how much I struggle with the lid. I just anything childproof should not be in my hands. I I am the epitome of childproof. I am what childproofing was made to prevent people from accessing, I guess. Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle all over the top, because that's how you get all that goodness. And we're gonna put it in the oven now that it's all warmed up. Ooh, oven time. really wanted to get you guys a nice shot of it coming out of the oven, so here we have it. Let's see how it turns out. Ta-da! Yeah, so I attempted to get some cutting porn, but it didn't look very good at the end of it. So now we'll get some final thoughts from me, and then my friend will try it, and that'll be all. I hope you enjoyed the video. We've finally made it to the funnest part of this video, to see if all the money spent on expensive meats and cheeses was worth it. I don't think I'm ever making mac and cheese another way again. Like, I think I could edit what order I do stuff in, but yeah. Yeah, that's a good mac and cheese. There's a little bit of crunch. Sorry. Like, normally if I make KD or something, I throw some bacon in, maybe a little bit of other stuff, but just doing it from scratch, now I will say, I think I like the pancetta a little bit more than the prosciutto, which sucks because it was a huge hassle to get that prosciutto. If you can do this, I forgot parsley. Supposed to put parsley in with it. Can't even tell that there's egg. Well, you can if you know what, like, you're looking for texture-wise. But boy. Yeah, if you get a chance, definitely make this. So rich, so heavy, and so good. My friend Xander here to review, like, a few days after I made it, the foods. Okay. The mac and cheese carbonara. What do you think?
Well, I'm about to find out.
Oh, it smells good from over here.
Well, it tastes really good from over here, I'll tell you that much. Like, there's definitely more than one kind of cheese in here.
Yeah, that's 4 cheeses.
So smoky.
Yeah, smoked cheddar, Gouda, Parmesan, Havarti. Trying to make a callback to bacon mac and cheese as a kid.
Well, this is definitely better than I remember it as a kid. I'll tell you that much.
Alright, thanks for the opinion, Xander. I'll let you finish the bowl now.
Thanks.
Okay, so last words, end of the video, all that jazz. I pretty much just wanted to say how much I loved this meal. Like, I had it as leftovers for like a week straight, and it was delicious every day. I'm in my quarantine sweater. It looks like a robe, but it's a sweater, I swear. But yeah, like, I loved it. My friends that tried it loved it. I actually had a few others try it that weren't on film. But yeah, you guys know what to do if you like the video, and I hope you have a great day. Stay safe.